A survey of autos parked in student and staff lots at a large university classified the brands by country of origin, as seen below in the table. Answer parts A through F. Okay, so what percent of all the cars surveyed were from country A? So make sure that you pay attention here, all the cars surveyed. So it doesn't say student or staff or things like that. So we need to know what our denominator is going to be. So we're going to just add up all these numbers, and you get 358. Now, what percent of all the cars surveyed were from country A? So we're going to add up these two numbers. So 108 plus 103 is 211 divided by 358 times 100. I got 58.94%. Again, make sure you pay attention to rounding to 2 decimals, etc., etc. What percent of the cars from country A were owned by students? Okay, so we're going to only look at country A. And what percent of those in country A were owned by students? So we have 108 over, what's our total? Just the 211. So 108 divided by the 211. And then multiply by 100. 51.18%. What percent of students own cars from country A? Okay, then this next part reads, what percent of the students own cars from country A? So all we're looking at now are the students. Could care less about the staff. What percent of the students own cars from country A? So we add up our total. Our denominator is going to be the 108 plus 33 plus 55. And then I'm going to say 108 divided by that number times 100. And here we go, 108. We have a total of 196 students. And what percent of the students owned cars from country A? That would be 55.1%. Okay, part D, what is the marginal distribution of the drivers? So we want to know here's a total percent of the total are students, what percent of the total are staff. So we're going to add those up and then divide by 358 and add these up, divide by 358. And we're going to get, let's see, I did this here. So, and then times 100 to convert it to percent, 54.75%. And the staff, same thing. I'm going to get 45.25%. What is the conditional distribution of drivers from country A? So again, we just pay attention to what is your denominator going to be. The numerator is usually pretty easy, I think. So country A, you have 108 students over what? Over all those from country A. So we have a total of 211. I think I've already done this, but I've already forgotten. So 108 divided by 211 times 100. And again, notice from an earlier video, I showed you how to change that mode to 2 decimals. Just be careful on that. And don't put 51% here because it's going to want 51.18. And similar for staff. 103 divided by 211 times 100. 48.82. And I'm going to let you think about this question here. Based on the reading and some of the other videos, you should be able to figure this part out based on these percentages here. So I recommend actually writing these out and putting your some total columns and finding some conditional distributions within there and compare those to see if they are close to the same. It's kind of ballpark. These here would be close to the same. You know, if you're more than about 10 percentage points away, that would definitely be not close enough. And we'll learn about what close enough is in a later chapter. You can kind of create these in StatCrunch. I'll show you just for a second. It's maybe a little heady. We'll do a lot more of this in a later chapter when we start doing chi-square. Again, not needed, but you can pull this up and do stats tables, and these are contingency tables, and we have summary data here. And so we can select our column. In this case, we have driver and var3, I guess. Student driver. It sort of split this up not the best way when I pulled it in here. Row labels, 1. And so here's where we can kind of do our, if you want row percent, column percent, or percent of total. And sort of play around with that to see which one. It sort of depends on what question they're asking there. For instance, let me go ahead and do column percent just so you can see what it looks like. And there's our column percents. 55%. This is of this particular column. You could also do the row percent. So one of the examples we did, let me go back to this and do row percent. Do these look familiar? 51.18, 48.8, and there we are right there. Okay, so you can use StatCrunch to sort of get at these. Sometimes a little more power than we need, just as easy to use the calculator for that. So let me just finish this one off so you're not scrambling around. Notice our percentages here are roughly equal between the student driver and the car, and the student driver and the faculty driver, staff driver. For country A, they're roughly equal, and country C, roughly equal, but country B, there's a big difference, right? We have 75% and 25%. So we would say no, they are not. Let me come up here. What does exactly it say? No, they are not independent because the percentages from countries A and C are roughly equal, but the percentage of cars from country B by students is much greater. So if they're all roughly equal, and again, we'll sort of define what that means later. We'll actually be able to put a statistic to that. But for now, just kind of use your gut on that. These are pretty close relative to as far as percentages. The other one was 3 times that. So here we have 75% versus 25%. So 3 times as many relative drivers from country B were student drivers. So I hope that helps.